Hello everyone. Today's topic is umask settings in Linux. Umask settings are used for customizing permissions for one's own files and directories. But before understanding umask settings, one should have good knowledge about file and directory permissions. So here is a recap of these permissions. Permissions are assigned for protecting files and directories from unauthorized access, and they also depends upon the type of users and access level or permission level a user may have. So before understanding this, the user must know that there is a root user which is called administrative user. He can access each and everything in the Linux operating system. But besides that, there are three users. The user who creates a file is called owner of the file. The users who form a group and provide access to files of that group are called group users. And everyone else in the group is known as other users. And there are three types of permission or access level, which are named as read, write, and execute. File permissions can be viewed for a file or directory using ls-l command. ls stands for listing of files and -l is used for long listing. Here user can see first hyphen indicates that it is a regular file. If it is a directory file, then here D symbol comes. The next R is for read permission, write permission, and execute permission. The first three RWX are for user. The next RWX for group user. The next three RWX are for other users. Similarly, in this file, it is an ordinary file. This user is given read and write permission for user and group user, but no execution permission for both users. But the other users are given only read permission. They are not given write and execute permissions. What we mean by read, write, and execute permissions, whenever a file has a read permission, it means user is allowed to read this file, copy and compile this file. But if this permission is for directory, then it means user can see the contents of a directory using ls command. If we use write permission for a file, it means editing of files is allowed. Deletion, moving, and renaming of files is possible only if the directory in which they are lying has write permission. So, write permission for a directory means we can make changes in a directory file. Means we can copy, move, and remove files to and from that directory. Similarly, we can create or delete subdirectories from a particular directory for which write permission has been given. Execute permission means execution of file is allowed. Every file cannot be an executable file. So we should be very careful when we describe about the execute permission for a file. But directory should have execute permission, otherwise user cannot change from one directory to another using cd command. One can see the listing of files with ls command if one has read permission. But if one wants to use a path for a file, then it cannot use ls command. Like you want to see the directory listing of a directory which is subdirectory of the user one directory. but user 1 has no execute permission for that directory, then user cannot use that path with ls command or cd command. So for changing from one directory to another using path or using path, one can use ls command only if a user has execute permission. Now, one should also understand about the octal values for permissions. Octal values means one can give only 0 to 7 values. Read is given 4 octal value, write is assigned 2 octal value, and execute is assigned 1 octal value. And if we add these three values, 4 plus 2 plus 1, then it comes as 7. And by default, whenever a new file is created, it is assigned 666 permission, and a new directory is assigned 777 permission. Now you can understand it in this way. The first 6 is for user permission. 6 means 4 plus 2, read and write permission, but no execute permission. The second 6 is for group user. That user is also read and write permission. Other users stand for the third location. Third location stands for other users, means only read and write permission. So by default, all users are assigned read and write permission, but no execution permission, as every file is not executable. But for directories, the first 7 is for user, second 7 is for group users, and the next 7 is for other users. And all the users are having execute permission so that they can navigate with cd command and they can display the listing of files in any directory. So from here you can also see if rwx is 4 plus 2 plus 1 is equal to 7. rw hyphen means 4 plus 2 plus 0 is equal to 6, and so on. Now coming back to umask command. Umask command is used to set or view personalized default file permissions for newly created files. These newly created files may be created with mkdir command, which creates directories, touch and t command, which can help in creating files. And one can see his umask setting at any time using umask command, and then one can get the values. It is a 3 or 4 digit octal number. If it is a 4 digit octal number, then the leftmost 0 stands for special permissions on a file. If this 0 is omitted, it implies that file is not having any special permission. The next 3 permissions are for user, group user, and other users. Now it's very clear to you people, Unix allows permissions for a file for providing additional level of security, and umask is used to have customized default permissions for a file or directory. At any stage, let user want 644. 644 means read, write, and execute permission for the user, but read and write permission for the files for other users and group users. So then user can subtract this 644 from 66 and we get 022, and this is used as umask value. But this is not as simple as it appears from here. You see here 3 6 are used, then again 3 6 are used, subtraction 0 0 0. It means this default value means user will get these set of permissions. If user use 0 11, then it means user should get this set of permission 5 means execute permission is included, but no, files cannot be assigned execute permission by default, so this 5 will be equivalent to 666. Similarly, if user is using 022, then 644 is the default set of permission. If 033, then 633 is the default set of permission. But 633 will be treated as 644. This happens only in case of file permissions. Similarly, 622 and 611 are treated similarly. Means if we are using 044 or 055 as of umask value, then we are getting this set of values to be used as default permissions. Why this? Because default files cannot have execute permissions by default. So subtraction does not hold true in case of odd values for files. But in case of directories, this is true. Subtraction holds true because execute permission is assigned by default. So when we get 755, we want 755 permission for the users, then read write execute permission is assigned to the user, and only read and execute permission for other and group users, but no execute permission. Sorry, read and execute permission assigned to group and other users, but no write permission. In case 011 is the umask value, then this is the set of default permission and the user is assigned all the 3 permissions, but only read and write permission for group and other users. So this table concludes the umask values for file permissions and directory permissions. If 0 is assigned, then file permission is read, write, but no execute. But for directory, it is read, write, and execute. In case of 0 and 1, file permissions are same. For 2 and 3, file permissions are same. 4 and 5, file permissions are same. For 6 and 7, file permissions are same. But for directory, all these are different, and this is because of the fact that files cannot be given execute permissions by default. Again, about the umask command, one can use umask command at the prompt and can get the value assigned. One can also change its value using umask followed by space and then the value which he wants to assign. This value can be written directly at the prompt. If it is written directly at the prompt, then user is changing value for the current session only, and this will not be in effect after he logs out. Moreover, user can change only his settings, but not of others. But a root user who is administrative user can change values for all. And these values can be written in /etc/profile file or in /etc/bash rc file for bash shell, and this configuration file varies from system to system and distribution to distribution. This is all about umask settings. Hope you understand this topic and you are able to enjoy this session. Thank you very much.